Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we getting on? So we're in the glowing sea again today, and I've had a few really cool ideas for this place in the last week. But for now, we're going to add the little details that flesh out the build and bring it to life. So, if you like what you see, do hit that big red button, and let's get stuck in. So, it's pretty much where we left off. I've had to redo a couple of things because I mucked it up completely. I've used an exit save and then lost said exit save. So, back to where we were. I'm going to start off by propping up the front of the building here. I'm actually going to build out from it, as you may have just noticed. But for now, we'll stop this thing floating quite so much. Last time I was absolutely determined to use one of these pieces, and I came back in again to do this, and still determined to use one. So finally managed to get one in there. It was being very uncooperative as a result of building off the grid, as it were. These particular pieces, I've only ever seen them in Hangman's Alley, underneath the sort of raised up shack in the corner there. But they're a total pain in the neck, because as you can see they sink through the floor and they don't want to snap to anything very easily. However, now that we've got, well, if you happen to want to use one anyway, I suppose you can, but with this taller, thinner pillar, makes it much easier to pull it back out the ground. We can just group select it into place. So we've got a slight bit of floating going on, so nothing a cinder block won't fix. Use a few of these prop bits and pieces up just to tidy up the little bits of floating like that. One of Aslam's junk walls, just looking for random things in the various menu bits and pieces that I can just sort of cram in there to use to prop the thing up with. All sorts of random bits and pieces, so there's lots of that going on today. And again, top end's fine, but this bottom end floats slightly, looks a little wobbly. Stick them a little off kilter so they look a little bit more organic. And there we go. It's not actually floating there, but it does look like it is, weirdly. And lots of group select. It'll be a little on the repetitive side, perhaps, but I hope it'll be useful. So I'm going to make use of a lot of different things and try and bring it to life, as I say. So these are from the Billboards tab in Custom Vanilla Assets. There's a few bits and pieces in there that are quite cool. It'd be a lot more practical if they were single things rather than sort of posts that are a fixed distance apart, but a little bit of jiggling around, we managed to get stuff in there. Those two there actually went in without any help whatsoever. Trying to group select them actually made matters worse, strangely enough. But it worked okay. It's a bit of a case of running around and seeing where they'll naturally fit, really. So I've done this one before, and a few variations on it as well. It's just a couple of containers on top of each other to provide a support, but it certainly works. There's a few of them floating around the glowing sea, so not inconceivable that they could have been dragged back. This build's actually likely to get a snowball on me somewhat, because I've had a few ideas, and it's just going to get bigger and bigger, and it should be very cool when I'm done. But amongst other things, I'm going to include a method for whoever lives here to drag stuff back with. So that should be quite cool when I get to that stage. Incidentally, if you guys have any ideas how I can actually get a ghoul, or possibly even, we'll see if it happens, but several of them, to populate a Workbench Anywhere settlement, I'd be absolutely over the moon to hear it, because I'm racking my brains on this at the minute. One little thing added into USO with the recent update is we've now got modular shipping containers, which I did think about using, but too much hassle for what I was doing at the time. Although having a separate door to put in here was very handy because I didn't have to pull the whole thing out and start again, which was awesome. I was very happy about that. Anyway, look at that. As soon as it clips through the ground so much, you can see the earth inside it. It looks a bit ridiculous, but when you close it off, it looks great. So a bit of a random jump around here, but I wanted to just show putting this post in, because you get a few little bits and pieces like this corner. There's not really much you can do with it, but they still look like they need a little bit of support just to make the thing look a bit more complete. And those wire fence posts from CVA are absolutely great for that. I've done it in a few places, but I'm not going to show you every single one because it will get horribly dull. So this is another set of double posts from the military barricades tab, which will be, again, very useful in the rain. It'll look better around this side, just propping up this corner than they did on the front, so I've moved those over. Floating once again. Oddly enough, that's another one that didn't need group selecting. Some things were very, very cooperative. Other things, not so much. And it probably doesn't make a right lot of sense, but I did like the idea of it. The post going through the hole in the cinder block there. Looks quite good. So, again with the new update to USO, got some retextures on some of the junk fences. Some of them are just a few different colours in there, which is cool. We'll get some use out of those eventually. Some of them actually use the metal textures, or varying metal textures, to make the whole thing look a lot more interesting. There's some re-angled ones as well, which are quite cool. It'd be very good if I get some use out of those. Well, for now, a chain of rugs, and we'll combine that with the group select. That way we've got a bit of reach. There's the front edge of this, particularly here where the bit of debris is there. It's a nightmare to sink stuff in. So, there's a few places where this technique is absolutely invaluable. There we are. We pull it off, turn it green when we're looking away, and then release. Hit the cancel button, it pops back, and then when we take the rugs out, it doesn't sink down. Credit Sardeliac for pointing that one out to me. Well, all of us, if you happen to watch his video. So, as suggested by one of my commenters, some radioactive barrels. They're not really tall enough or sturdy enough to prop up large portions of the building, but little bits and pieces like this they work for quite well, so I wanted to squeeze them in somewhere at least. So there we go. Thank you very much for that suggestion. I actually put these in because I used the rod glitch to get this in. There was actually we had a clipping going on at the back there, but I fixed it, but not very interesting to watch. So, I'm going to start on a little balcony sitting area type thing that's going to wrap around the front. It gives a little bit more life to the front of the building, and this fella's going to have an awful lot of space in his house when I'm done. So quite what I'm going to do with it all I don't know yet. The reason I've done it that way around here is because it was virtually impossible to get that foundation piece to sit where I wanted it. So by just group selecting in one of the floor pieces and then snapping on the foundation piece to that, it worked quite nicely. But the same problem over on this side. I just couldn't for the life of me get the foundation piece to sit next to the other one, so put a little extension in there, mostly so that I can see what height the floor should be, because this one I didn't actually want on multiple levels. I'll fiddle around with it a bit and eventually it'll sink in. There we go, that worked. And just use these temporary floor pieces as a guide. Nudge it into place, we'll pull those out and then we'll snap a foundation piece right in there. Actually, I think I left that floor piece on there and just worked with it, but it's all good. Mix up the textures a little bit. So, as these small wooden floor pieces are very, very snap happy, quite happy to clip through, we'll use a couple of those. Got a bit of an odd angle on the floor there. Simple as. So, just a straight up bit of group select to get this one in there, plug that gap up. Wanted to create a reasonably solid back along here. Don't mind that there's a few gaps, but it even looks like it's on the barrel, look at it. My first thought was to close this off completely, but it was being a total pig about it. With enough patience, I could probably have done it, but there was a lot of patience involved in this anyway. So, if you're curious, there's about 4 or 5 times as much footage that I've chopped out compared to what I've left in on this video. So, bit of group select, which is slightly inconvenient because that rug for some bizarre reason sits halfway up the wall. Something to do with the way it snaps into the ground, I think. But looks alright, so that'll do nicely. Doesn't have to be perfect. So I'm going to go back round to the other end of the balcony here. But first we're going to create ourselves a little improvised half wall. Just group select those together. A little bit of clipping, and there they go nicely. 1, 2. And then once again, group select it into place. This took a lot of fiddling around as it was extremely prone to turning red. And a lot of adjustment, but we got there in the end. There we go. And as you can see, it's gone dark. It's because I tried to do the same procedure but with a vertical setup, sort of single width piece next to it, but that was just not happening. So I ended up giving up out of sheer frustration. So I'm going to give a rage quit there. Back to daylight, and we'll put some railings on this place. So, also included with the new USO update is a little tab at the end of the Fences and Walls tab, which has got a lot of random bits and pieces in it for railings and that sort of thing, including this and the other stuff we use in just a moment, which is very cool. Adds a little bit of variety in there. I'll get that group selected. Group selected? Rug glitch. Crikey. Group select on the brain after all this. So we'll use the rug glitch to get that in there, as it's a bit temperamental, but very easy to get on the rug, which is always handy. There's a lot of different bits and pieces like this, which I was really happy about, because initially I used several retextures on of the vanilla railings, and it looked a bit rubbish, to be honest, especially across such a large area. But being able to use this, and there's a couple of smaller ones over here, broke it up, and it suits the build a lot better, which I was very, very happy about. So there we go. Mix and match a little bit, because I don't want it too similar all the way along. There's a lot of destroyed buildings and various styles around the glowing sea, unsurprisingly, that provide a lot of different textures that arguably could be dragged back and used in a build in this location, so it works quite well. I haven't used concrete stairs in absolutely ages, mostly because they're quite ugly, but they kind of work in this one. Plus it's nice to have a bit of variety. So I actually wound up pulling most of the staircase apart and replacing it with something else, which uses mostly the same techniques. And certainly techniques you've seen me use plenty of times before. So I actually ended up building that off camera, so I thought I'd include this even though I'm going to pull it out, so you can have a quick look at how I did it. It's dead easy bit of group selecting. Line everything up, and there we go. I did actually go on to use a load of cinder blocks to provide support for the legs on this side, but as I say, I'm pulling the whole thing out, so there's a limit to just how much you needed to watch. This bit, on the other hand, is definitely my favourite part of the entire build so far. Dead simple, gives a really cool look to the front of the building. Arguably they'd have had to be dragged quite a long way, but it also looks like they're providing support to the front of the balcony as well, which is really cool. I like that a lot. So, big rug. Pillar and rug glitch. In we go. Line it up with the top edge of the floor there, so it all disappears at pretty much the same time. Sink it down. There we go. Look at that. That's not a set piece, I don't know what it is. Same again on this side. Nudge it in place, there we go. Look at that. Very happy with how that looks. And as you can see, I was a little picky about getting it exactly right. There we go. It doesn't clip through or anything either, which is always bonus. This is going to go around the corner. And again, chain of rugs, because I was having issues getting the pillar to sink. So there we go. Always a lot easier to do this after the stairs have gone in, if possible. Simply make sure it's not clipping through. And settlers will use it. Not that that's really a problem here for now. But it's, if you've already got it on quite frequently, you won't be able to snap things to it. Although if you get it right and you can snap things onto it, you're pretty much guaranteed that settlers can use the stairs, so swings and roundabouts. Dead simple little fix, this one. But I wanted to show it because I quite like the look of the textures on it. Just sort of offset these two half walls. Like that. Group select them in. Nice. It's a silly little detail on a corner, that, but But I really like the finished effect, so just around the corner from it there, and just a little something to support that wooden edge we've just put in. There we go, resting on the concrete. Nice. So I did say last time that staircase needed walling off, so that's what we're going to do here. It's a little bit of a faff to do, but not too bad actually in the end. I use a short chain of rugs because the post that's holding the roof up at the top of the stairs is in the way. So we'll have to work through that. So get that all set up. Could really chop some of that out. There we go. So we're standing on the staircase now, sort of between the two halves of the main building. Just nudge that into place. That seemed just about a perfect fit. So get things lined up. Getting that post back out again afterwards was an interesting exercise. First you had to remove one of the walls, let it snap back, and then place the post blind somewhere where I'll be able to get it after I climb back out again. But I suppose I could have left it, but I wanted to use it again. And the same thing on the other side. Just making sure that the bottom edge lines up with the floor on the left there, which is the same thing we did on the other side as well. Sure it's the right height at the bottom. And it'll basically mean it'll line up with the roof as well, or more or less anyway, which is close enough. There we go. And there's quite a bit of open texture on that side, and as it's the exposed outside edge of the building, I thought we'll nudge it up a little higher, put a fence piece in there. So 2 pillars there to get the height, and there we go. Neat. Oh, scrappy, but you know. So, add a little bit of character onto the front. I had wanted to use the sort of various tents added by the recent USO update again. Most of them just would not sit closely on there, or they're just totally flat-edged, or a little too angled in some way, so they just wouldn't really work on here. So I went with these ones, which normally have poles on them, but I've had the poles removed and the angles adjusted. So that means we can just put them in just about anywhere we like. There's that nice curved pole on the back there, worked pretty well with the shape of the building, which I was quite happy about. Spent a while first just sort of testing it out, sort of much like this, and then figuring out where to group select it from. But sits quite nicely up against the edge of the building. This one over here, just for a little bit of variety. End up adjusting it again after this, but quite easy to see here. So see, it looks like it's tied on at the bottom there, and leaning up against the wall on the top. Now we'll just take some plain radar poles. There's actually 2 different heights of this one. This is one of the short ones. I use the tall ones at the front. And you can move it into place, but if you do want to do so, the easiest way to do it is just like that. Once you've picked it up, it'll go red straight away, and just nudge the camera down towards the bottom of it a little bit, and it'll just snap to the floor and go green again. But, as I needed it very close to the railing there, fortunately, they rug glitch, rather, just fine, so a couple of those in, nudge it into place, and then it's just a case of lining everything up. Well, sadly we can't make it look like it's tied on, so we'll have to use our imagination a little bit there, but there we go. More or less. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I was rather pedantic about that. Okay, just round at the front, same principle again. No need to glitch this one. The idea here was to have it just sort of a little bit in from the point, sort of where it starts to thicken out a bit, so it looks a little sturdier. And there we go, on to the tour. There's a few more bits and pieces going on. I put a few internal walls in, that sort of thing, and haven't shown you that just because it's dead easy. It's more of the same. Not massively inspiring. That's the staircase I went to build afterwards. And just over here, You see I built a little shack underneath this end of the building. I use the term shack loosely because I wanted to tuck something in here, but I'm not entirely sure I'm going to leave this. So for the moment, this is our generator shack. Not actually wired to anything for the moment. But I have yet to make my mind up on whether or not that's staying, so as we were getting along a little bit, I thought I'd leave it out, as you've basically watched those techniques about 1,000,000 times by now. So there you go, a few internal walls to break up the monotony a little bit. That's much better with some walls on those stairs. I think this last section down here will go on to be the bedroom. I have yet to decide exactly what's going where. There we go, the up here area. Not quite sure what I'm going to put up here either. Just going to stretch my mind a little bit. Well, it's looking more or less like a completed building now. We're just down to furnishing, really. So, thank you very much for watching, as always. Do hope you enjoyed. If you did, do hit those buttons for me. Always very much appreciated. You can find social media links down in the description if you'd like to keep up to date with everything else going on the channel. Do take a moment to have a look at some of my other stuff as well. Having a lot of fun lately. I shall be speaking to you all very, very soon.